The following category is scheduled for one winner with 14 nominees. On their way to the ring, or the podcast, or the Byte That 2016 award show, we have a couple of people that Keith is going to read out.
Indeed, it is Superstar of the Year time. It is the granddaddy of them all, the showcase of the 2016 Immortals. Now, who is on our list? So in no particular order, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Triple H, Dolph Ziggler, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Roode, Kota Ibushi, and Matt Hardy.
That one's out of left field. Yes, we are a WWE award show, but Broken Matt. He broke the boundaries of wrestling with so many different things that I don't think we have nearly enough time to talk about. Keep in mind, the category Superstar of the Year is not about the best bad guy or best good guy. It is about that one superstar that if you want to put a DVD compilation.
It's not about the good guys.
Oh, no.
It's not about the bad guys. It's about the guy. Who is the guy in really the Byte That wrestling world this year?
Basically, if you want to make a DVD compilation of WWE or on Blu-ray, and you want to put this person in the cover, who is it? So who is it not, I guess, is where we want to start. Because there's a couple of names I think can be quickly eliminated. And I'm going to propose that in one fell swoop, we eliminate Bobby Roode, we eliminate Braun Strowman as much as I like the guy, and Kota Ibushi, because even though he had a great year in WWE, he's not a part of the roster.
Yeah.
He was in
He was there for the Cruiserweight Classic. He's basically the spirit of the Cruiserweight Classic
and some NXT.
Brought into this award, and some NXT.
Yeah, he deserves a mention for having some of the best matches of the year in WWE, but his catalog is very small, where we really have to give it to someone who's contributed a full year, essentially, or at least a significant part of the year. And that's why I also think Triple H should go, because, you know, he's gone.
Like, for the most part of the year, the storyline has been, where's Triple H?
He's disappeared when we needed him most to keep the Seth Rollins storyline going at least a little bit.
Now, he did do some good stuff at the beginning of the year, but I do think that ends up getting overshadowed by his WrestleMania match with Roman Reigns, and it kind of ends up being a negative. So yes, I agree that Triple H gets cut. So we have cut Braun Strowman, Kota Ibushi, Triple H, and is that it?
Yeah, we have 4 people eliminated. Now, we
and
mentioned Matt Hardy.
Yes.
Yeah, and Bobby Roode. We mentioned Matt Hardy. I think it's going to be under the same category. It really makes no sense for him to be a top 3 and our WWE Superstar of the Year, but we got to put him in here somewhere, right? He was in another category, but if you want to talk about somebody that has been enabled or able to unite wrestling on a global scale to the point where even Bray Wyatt is sending out a tweet for total nonstop deletion as about the participation. He's trying to bring the Day of the New into this thing. He did so many things that should be stupid, ridiculous. They shouldn't make sense, and they don't. But that's why he's great. But I think that this is as far as he goes for this.
I agree. He definitely deserves a nod. He is sort of reinventing the wheel and really turning up that entertainment aspect to a new level. He's kind of adding a cinematic feel to wrestling. So I like that we give him a nod here, but I wouldn't put him in the top 3.
Yeah, Matt Hardy has achieved the incredible feat this year of being able to reinvent himself with no help. He almost reinvented himself despite what was going on around him, and it's incredibly impressive. And he's done great things this year and continues to do so, and he deserves the nod. But yep, I agree. This is as far as it gets.
And WWE did try to do some things with the Wyatt family compound. No.
Yeah.
No.
Didn't bring that up as disappointment of the year, but
well, we should have, but
yeah, seriously.
Too late. Now, who else not makes the cut, but who else gets
Dolph
cut?
Ziggler. Let's get
Ziggler.
rid of him.
Gone. Ziggler. Do we want to say anything about him to add to that, or is it just Ziggler?
I mean, we were all hoping Ziggler went away, so what more can you say?
He did very well in The Miz and his feud with The Miz. He did very well, but we all knew it was going to happen to Ziggler afterwards, and it's pretty much exactly what we expected.
Do we need to add The Miz to this list?
Let's impromptu addition. We will add The Miz on here.
All right.
Let's add him there.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he makes my top 3, but okay.
I think it's worth conversation.
Let's add that conversation right now, I would say, because he's already been in other categories, and if we just added him, considering under Breakout Star, we had a near 40-minute conversation about this. Is he at least like a top 5?
Yeah, he's not my top 3. I'm just going to say that. I don't know if is anyone going to argue for The Miz to be in the top 3?
No.
I do not think so. He's like a number 5 for me.
Yeah,
so
like
he's
The Miz,
in and he's out.
The Miz absolutely had an incredible year this year. I beat it to death at this point, and I think that he's had a very strong year, but there have been stronger.
So the Miz is gone?
Thanks, Miz. Thanks for showing up. At least we gave him a nod. I think it was worth giving the Miz a nod here.
I'm going to say this, and people, I don't know. You know what? Every time I think I'm going to be controversial, people seem to agree with me anyway. I don't think Seth Rollins is in my top 3 this year. I really don't think he is. To me, he didn't have quite the standout year, and still hasn't really found himself as a babyface yet. So for that, I probably would not include him in my top 3.
I would agree. I think that the potential was there. WWE, I still think to this day, made a huge mistake by having the WWE 24 documentary having come out. People are thinking he's going to come back like the next Jeff Hardy. That's what I was even saying. Turns into a bad guy, only to then turn into a good guy. But that initial adrenaline rush that documentary developed was gone. If they took out the heel part and had it there, the man could have been a number 1. He could have easily been a number 1.
I think Seth Rollins is just a byproduct of them, like him being cut is a byproduct of them stalling on the Triple H storyline. I think if they actually did some follow through with that, this might be a very different conversation. But yeah, I have to agree where since that thing with Triple H happened, it's felt like Seth has been in limbo, and it's just a matter of time of waiting for that to happen. And it's hurt Seth this year a lot. And then plus, the whole being in this weird place between good guy and bad guy, it's all kind of lumped up together and hurt Seth overall. So I have to agree.
Let's bring up this name right now. Roman Reigns. Does he get cut?
You know, I'm thinking about Roman Reigns is a guy who has actually had a very good year as far as matches go.
He's had the most consistent year of match quality, I would have to say, because every time there's a big match, Roman has brought it for the most part. I would say the only example of this being otherwise would be WrestleMania 32? That was this year's WrestleMania, right?
They stopped numbering them, so it's okay. WrestleMania Star or whatever.
Yeah, WrestleMania Dallas edition. That would be the only notable exception of like the one time Roman didn't bring it, but he's had great matches year round.
But does he make a top 3?
Yeah.
Like this is completely going out of this whole Roman Reigns hate train.
Let's just leave him on the table for now.
Okay, so he's on the table for now.
What about 3. Shinsuke Nakamura?
I don't think he makes it.
I don't think he makes it either.
I don't think. Yeah, same here.
All right,
we've been talking about that enough. Where without Samoa Joe, I think you would have a lot of challenges as to what do you really do with Nakamura. Great babyface on NXT, great charisma, great talent, but not top 3. So that he is removed. So let's talk about Samoa Joe because I just brought him up, and personally, I do think he's in my top 3 or a top 4. He's like in that number 3 to number 4 spot because I love NXT so much, and it has been struggling this year really hard, and he's brought it back.
Yeah, I think Samoa Joe was NXT this year, even though he wasn't like the top guy with like Balor and Nakamura being there. Samoa Joe carried NXT on his back through good times and bad, and I think he has had one of the best years in the WWE period, and I would probably put him on my top 3 list at this time.
Yeah, I mean, in a time where NXT loses its biggest stars to get called up to the main roster, he literally has to carry an entire, him and Nakamura have to carry the entire thing the rest of the way. So that's obviously something you can't take lightly, and you have to give him a ton of credit for keeping NXT relevant during a tough time.
So let's keep him there for now. We also have Roman Reigns in the parking spot. The two
What
names
about
that I see...
Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that's where I'm sort of leaning towards. I don't think he makes it.
I don't think he makes it either. Even though Kevin Owens, he had great matches with Sami Zayn, he's been a consistent performer. When you put him up against everyone else, Kevin Owens, he had a hell of a year last year, and he's continued that success into becoming Universal Champion. But he doesn't quite, even though he is supposed to be the guy on Raw, he doesn't quite feel like the guy on Raw. And the person who really has stood out this year on Raw, I think we all know, is Chris Jericho.
There is a reason why we have not talked about Jericho yet.
Because I'm pretty sure Chris Jericho is a lock-in for top 3 for all of us.
Yes.
Keith, what you're telling me is that Chris Jericho makes the list?
Chris Jericho? You just made the list.
All right.
Yes.
So we have Jericho there as a definite contender.
So I think we cut Owens, right?
Yeah, I do think we cut Owens.
Okay.
Yes.
Hurts
Owens
to do.
is cut.
Does Dean Ambrose follow him? Huh? Does he follow him?
Ambrose, we mentioned before, he's kind of had a weird year. He's been up and down. In the latter part of the year, he's certainly trended upward. But does that include him in Superstar of the Year? I think purely because he's up against much stiffer competition, I say no.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose has had an incredible year, but there has been ups and downs, and I think we're at a point where we have to factor in all of the ups and all of the downs, and really where he was throughout the duration of the year. He ended at a high point, yes, but there were some pretty low points, and I think Dean gets cut for that.
And I think the same way we've been talking about Nakamura, where you need a Samoa Joe, I think Dean Ambrose has AJ Styles and James Ellsworth to thank for the fact that he's been able to really overcome that negativity, right? As weird as it is, like, you got to thank James Ellsworth for that.
Like, we're getting to a super nitpicky point of this conversation, and I think if the Brock Lesnar situation would have been a little different, this conversation would be very different. But that slump that Dean fell into after the whole Brock Lesnar feud just ends up tipping it over at the end of the day.
You can look at that match being up there as biggest disappointment of the year, as well as his match at SummerSlam with Dolph Ziggler was uncharacteristically bad for both Ziggler and Ambrose. So really, he kind of struggled a little bit as champion. And then really things picked up once he was in a feud with AJ Styles. So because of that, he kind of had a couple of dips. And you really can't give him Superstar of the Year for that.
As sad as it is, it's crazy that we didn't add Brock Lesnar to any list. Real talk, I don't think he should be in any of these lists.
I think Brock Lesnar was such a non-factor this year, really. He showed up and he did decent things at best. Like, there was nothing about Brock Lesnar that really stood out this year.
Yeah, and obviously Goldberg is also not here. He was in one of the categories. But yeah, another person that somebody can make the case for Superstar of the Year, but not really, just within the context of what we're talking about. So we do have 4 people from what I'm looking at, and they are Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Roman Reigns. Between these three guys, I really can't make a case for Reigns, which sucks because... No, actually, I'm not going to take it back. I don't think it sucks. I think he's a top 5, where I think other people would be really... He'd be the first cut, I think, for many people. And in a list of 15 contenders that we have when we included The Miz, the fact that he's number 4 says that he has improved tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. He may not be the most liked guy, but he brings a tremendous amount of value. And like his in-ring work is severely underrated, and he's one of the most improved in the WWE as far as in-ring goes. His moveset, it's a lot more fun to watch a Roman Reigns match than it is a Dean Ambrose match a lot of times, depending on the situation.
Agreed.
And for that though, I just don't think he does quite make the cut. He hasn't had an amazing year, but he's had a much better year than previous.
Agreed. Roman Reigns has definitely had the most development of a star this year, but it was a situation where he started high and he ended high. It was just there was that slump, and he did kind of like almost lose his way because of the suspension. Mm-hmm. And I think that hurt Reigns in the long run. Or, I say that, but maybe it didn't. Because
even then, like, he had a hell of a match with Finn Balor on Raw. Like, he has been consistently great.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I think Reigns does get cut, but it's almost like a not feel good.
How do you feel about AJ Keith? I don't know. For whatever reason, I think that out of all of these three guys, AJ's your number 3, right? I'm just guessing here.
No, honestly, at this point, AJ's my number 2. Through improvement. Like, yes, there was once again, AJ had a slump, so that's why I won't immediately say number 1, but just everything John Cena feud and on AJ Styles has done has been phenomenal, pun intended, and it's been so good, and the match quality from AJ has just been consistently incredible. Even during like the slump with Jericho earlier in the year, their matches were great. You can never take that away from AJ Styles. And then he just started finding his stride character-wise with the club, and then the feud with John Cena, moving on to SmackDown with the feud with Dean Ambrose and John Cena. It's been great. AJ Styles has had one of the best years in the WWE period. He's the best in the world, and it showed so much this year that AJ Styles has to be a lock. For me, it's probably between Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe. And in that context, I do think Joe pulls a little forward because Joe has just had a very consistent year. Like, I think Samoa Joe, honestly, is the only person of the 3 that hasn't had that slump.
Yeah, I think cutting people, it's got to be Roman Reigns. Joe has carried an entire NXT brand, and I think he deserves that and should be in the top 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and since are we all agreeing?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I would like to just give Reigns. I'd like to give Reigns some final kudos, saying he had an amazing year and deserves credit, way more credit than he gets, just because it's become the fun thing to boo Roman. But it's been so... You've had a hell of a year, and I honestly do hope that Reigns just keeps getting better and better, and this argument becomes more difficult, even if it's not the fun, like if it's not the popular choice to give Reigns the credit he deserves. Maybe next year it's a harder case to just cut Roman.
All right, so Reigns is officially gone, so we're left with Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe. Now, I'm going to have to say that Samoa Joe is probably my number 3 then, based on everything that we're talking about, because this is the brand split year. We cannot forget that. So this award show is way different than the ones we've done in years past, and I think it's no coincidence that we just so happen to have AJ Styles from SmackDown Live and then Chris Jericho from Raw, where ideally you want it to be Kevin Owens, but it's not. Chris Jericho is the one that you really want to talk about here. Who would be your number 1?
I'll just
Honestly,
throw my list.
yeah, go ahead.
And
Go
yeah, I'll throw my list in. So I agree, Joe, number 3. I'm going to go with Chris Jericho at number 2. So we can look at the whole faltering thing of AJ and Jericho because they both kind of had a little bit of a weird start to the year.
At the same time, in the same feud.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost kind of cancels it out for the sake of this conversation and who did the better thing going forward.
Yeah, because they both, after that feud, went on to amazing success. I mean, we look at AJ Styles, and he's my number 1. I have Chris Jericho at number 2 because Chris Jericho had probably the second best year of his career, and his career is about a 15-plus year career. So to have the second best year of his entire career this late in the game is just insane. And like, he's gotten so many catchphrases over. He's had great matches. He's consistently been the most entertaining thing of a very hard to get through Monday Night Raw. So he absolutely deserves to be number 2. But AJ Styles is number 1 for me because I don't think anyone could have possibly pictured a better year for AJ Styles, aside from a little bit at the beginning where it was a little iffy. But other than that, AJ Styles has more than exceeded expectations, has already been trusted to help carry one brand of WWE, has become WWE champion, has had some of the best matches, some of the best matches in WWE all year round. He's just been a very consistent, reliable performer, has really found his heel character and exceeded in a place where most people didn't give him credit for, a place where people didn't think he could succeed as well as other people. So AJ Styles has just had an insanely great year and is definitely number 1 for me.
The only point that I would say against that, and I'm not opposed to what you presented at all, it's just that the highest highs this year were presented by Chris Jericho. And he was so good at just keeping everything going. Like, Chris Jericho has had he's constantly added new things to his repertoire, constantly changing. He never got stale and just kept, like you said, kept producing the best material on this slog of a show that's Monday Night Raw. The fact that he could be entertaining almost despite the show he was on, it gives so much credit to Chris Jericho. Where AJ Styles, he found his sweet spot and just kind of rode it out. Like, he did have a little bit of change, but once he became the face that ran the place, the champ that runs the camp, that was kind of it development-wise for Styles. Now, it sounds weird to say that as a knock because that place is still one of the best places of the year, but Jericho constantly changed and constantly got better.
But if we're taking entertainment and we're taking match quality, I don't think anyone touches AJ Styles this year.
Match quality, yes. Entertainment, no. I would honestly put Jericho in the entertainment factor above AJ Styles.
It's different.
Jericho beats AJ Styles from a purely entertainment side. But I feel like if we say AJ's entertainment level's like a 7 and Jericho's is a 10, well, AJ's 10 match quality to Jericho's 8 match quality, the overall score, AJ's gonna win.
That is fair.
I think overall you could easily make a case for a draw because it's kind of funny, right? How we're battling about the two guys who at the beginning of the year, Jericho was please leave, was what we were saying. In
Jared.
Yeah, Jared Dad, and then with AJ Styles,
Rudy Tooty Booty, Rudy Tooty, like we were there not too long ago.
Exactly. And then we go to this. But then at some point, yeah, the entertaining stuff is important, but ultimately once you go into the match, you gotta lead the charge. You gotta lead the pack, and that's what AJ has done. When you look at SmackDown, it's not just that AJ has become one of WWE's top players. He became the top player on the B brand, on the brand that for years was doing nothing. And then you look at the ratings, you look at the interest, you look at our polls every week. Byte That Cast, we always do that. And the reason we do all of that is because we want to know which show is everybody enjoying. And it just so happens to be on an almost week-to-week basis the one that AJ's there. And he's able to do the comedy stuff with James Ellsworth. He's had, in the same year, feuded with John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose, among other things that have happened along the way, and he's made them all work. Now, Jericho,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. Let me throw in just an ace in the hole here. Is because, after the Jericho-Styles feud, Styles, picked up with the Reigns feud and then sailed off from there into John Cena, into Ambrose, and everything was great. Little do we forget, Jericho and Ambrose kind of faltered a bit in their feud. That was a feud that you guys forgot about. That you guys, I remember you on the podcast being like, I just don't care about this. So, boom, headshot.
No, I agree completely. I'm perfectly okay with that. I just wanted to play or at least present the other side of the coin. But yeah, you're not going to see me shed a tear about AJ Styles being our superstar of the year.
Folks, I think we did it. We did it. In our last category, the male superstar of the year. The top three are as follows. At number 3, we have NXT's Samoa Joe. At number 2, we have Y2J Chris Jericho. Guys, let's drink it in, man. Let's just drink in the gift of Jericho. Beautiful. Drink it in. And now that we're back, it is time to announce that the number 1 male superstar of the year goes to the champ that runs the camp, the rear that broke the... I don't know, something about the pants. It feels like at some point we got to bring up the pants. But AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, is Byte That's 2016 WWE Male Superstar of the Year. We got to say, WWE had a really solid year. Because the moment that the draft was announced, we were very concerned. Number 1, because of podcast overload, what's going to happen with us, what's going to happen with the product, what happens if one show is bad, what happens if both shows are bad, right? Like we have a scenario where we don't want to watch either one, but we want to watch WWE, or we want to watch Superstar A take on Superstar B, but they're on opposite brands. Yeah, look at this conversation. We could easily make a case for why Raw has great talent, why SmackDown, NXT, we got the Cruiserweight Classic. In 2017, we're going to have like 30 different WWE shows with the WWE UK stuff and all that. How do you guys feel about all of this?
Looking back, 2016 was a great year. It feels like they're finally making strides, especially post-draft, like pre-WWE draft and post-WWE draft are so different. It's crazy how much that company changed after the draft. But now you're beyond it, you're starting to get the bigger picture with things like the Cruiserweight Classic, which is just so good. And we have the promise of the UK tournament and whatever's to come. I really think that we're very, very close to a golden age in the WWE, and I think it's only going to get better from here. And I honestly can't wait to see what's in store.
Yeah, 2016, hell of a year. The brand split, something I was completely and adamantly against, ended up being the best thing to happen to WWE by a mile. The brand split has really allowed a lot of underutilized people to shine. It's allowed a lot of room for NXT people to come up to the main roster. An emphasis on storytelling seems to be coming back to WWE, something we haven't had in a while, something that was much needed. Emphasis on storytelling, emphasis on characters. That's the direction that I like. SmackDown has become something I look forward to watching again. That is a big deal to me. And in all of this, the only things that I fear with WWE moving forward, and I hope they really kind of settle down, quell their expectations, is that they spread themselves too thin. They keep adding content, and a lot of the content is great, but you don't want to spread yourself too thin. I'm happy to hear there's rumors that they're pulling back on the amount of pay-per-views, because that's one thing I'm sure we can all agree. There might just be a tad bit too many pay-per-views going on. We know the network makes that possible, but every other weekend, I think, is a little too much.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly. And what have you guys thought about this experience? I mean, never. It's kind of funny because the whole premise of us starting a podcast was because for years we talked for hours upon hours. But this right here is the first time ever for Byte That we've taken that approach literally, where instead of just doing a 1 hour show, we did a whatever hour show. We hit record and we've been talking for over 6 hours. That is a little unreal. Are you guys feeling satisfied? Are you feeling like you're sad, like you need to go to bed? Maybe grab some pizza.
I honestly loved this. I thought it was great because in the podcast a lot we'll touch on things, we'll talk about them, but this is really one of the first times that we got into the nitty-gritty and really like had to compare things against other things and really just get in depth in a way that we hadn't really done before. And I loved it. And I if you guys are on board, even though we probably all feel like we need a nap, I want to do this every year.
Yeah, I'm all for it for next year. It is a hell of a task to take on. I mean, I think I learned a lot about the both of you. I think I learned that you guys definitely have similar opinions when it comes to wrestling. I feel like I am more of an outlier because I feel like I got bullied out of a lot of categories, but I respect...
Keith.
Yeah. I respect hashtag blame Keith. I respect that majority vote wins. And if sometimes I just had to take a few losses there, but I hope that the Byte That the Byte Club will at least take some of my points into consideration, my point of view, and I want everyone to let us know your picks, how you feel about things, because I'm sure there was a lot of situations where our opinions very much differed from our listeners. So I'm very curious to hear what you guys had to say on each and every category.
Exactly. There are probably matches and moments that we just didn't watch just because of the scope that we watch wrestling. And if there's something out there that you think that we should really check out or that's worth looking back at, I'd love to know. I'd love to see it. So if there is something, send us a tweet or whatever you'd like, Byte That Cast, and I'll check it out because I'm very curious.
Yeah, on the YouTube channel, we uploaded each award category separately. The purpose of this is that we can develop a specific conversation, right? So if you go to Breakout Star, you know exactly what the comments are going to be about, whether it's agreeing or disagreeing. And we want to thank you guys and hope that this was something that was fun for you. Above everything, we want to know that because we can think about different ideas. Hey, there's this concept here. But if the Byte Club really is not enjoying it, then that goes to show we have some stuff to work on. But I think that you guys enjoyed it. We really had a blast doing it. We get comments that people always enjoy whenever the podcast goes extra lengthy. We did a week's worth of content here.
Merry belated Christmas.
Yeah, so many things are happening in Byte That for 2017. We have different ideas. We are going to be going to WrestleMania, the three of us. That's going to be quite the experience. We are changing our YouTube channel structure in 2017. We have many different ideas that, some are going to be happening soon, some are going to be happening later, but we want to get you involved. And if you appreciated this format and everything that we're doing, we just ask that you consider, for at least a couple of seconds, head on over to patreon.com/Byte That. That is a platform where you can monetarily directly support us every month. And as a return, we give back to you. Things like early access to video content and more. Things like exclusive behind-the-scenes updates. You can directly contribute to different ideas that we have. A raw and uncut video version of the podcast. Other features we're planning. You even get our podcast agenda in PDF format for just $1. So once again, head on over there. If you have any questions about Byte That, about the procedure that we had to make all of this happen, just drop a comment or send us an email to bytethatcast@gmail.com. We're always active on social media, Facebook and Twitter. It is Byte That Cast. On Instagram, you want to see some pictures, we are available there. It is Byte That. So thank you for watching. This has been it for Byte That in 2016. 2017 awaits many awesome things and more. Keith, smile for the world. And those that are listening only, you know how Keith smiles. It's an evil smile. So thank you for watching, and we'll be back with more in 2017 here on Byte That.